You already know something is wrong. You checked your bank account. Again, the number is lower than it should be. You worked hard this week. You were stressed this week. And somehow, spending happened. You did not decide to spend. It just happened. A cart here, a delivery order there. Something clicked and something charged, and now you are sitting with that familiar, hollow feeling. Not quite guilt, not quite regret, just the sense that you did it again. Here's what makes this worse. The more pressure you are under at work, at home, in your life, the more the spending accelerates. Stress goes up. The account goes down. You try to budget harder. The cycle continues. There is a name for what is happening inside your brain during this cycle. It is called ego depletion, and it explains why willpower is exactly the wrong tool for this problem. Stay with me. Here is what you have probably told yourself. You spend when you are stressed because you lack discipline, because you give in too easily, because you are emotional with money and you need to be more logical. That belief makes complete sense. It is the story that every finance article, every budgeting app, every well-meaning person in your life has handed you. You feel out of control, so the prescription is get more control, track every dollar, use more willpower, build more structure. Here is the problem with that. Discipline is a resource. Willpower is not a character trait. It is a fuel tank, and stress burns through that tank before you ever get to the spending decision. By the time you are reaching for your phone to open that shopping app, the self-control that discipline requires is already gone. You are not failing at the system. You are running on empty and trying to drive uphill. And there is a deeper layer underneath this that nobody talks about. Stress spending is not random. It follows a pattern rooted in something called reward prediction error, a mechanism in your brain that links uncertainty to compulsive reward-seeking behavior. You do not know that mechanism yet, but by the end of this, you will never look at a stressful purchase the same way again. Here is a question worth sitting with. What if your stress spending is not a flaw in your character? What if it is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do under pressure? Research published in the Journal of Consumer Psychology found that psychological stress significantly increases impulsive buying behavior, and here's the part that matters. Not because stressed people want more things, but because the act of choosing and acquiring activates the brain's reward system in a way that temporarily relieves the stress signal. Your brain is not betraying you, it is medicating you with your own money. That reframe changes everything about how you fix this. What you are about to learn are 3 specific mechanisms that explain exactly how stress hijacks your spending. They are called depletion spending, certainty seeking, and the dopamine debt loop. Once you understand all 3, the solution becomes obvious, and the system you will use to implement it is something you can start today. Mechanism 1, depletion spending. Depletion spending is what happens when your capacity for self-regulation runs out before you reach the spending decision. Here is what this looks like in your real life. You have a brutal day, your boss is on your case, you skip lunch, you handle 3 problems that were not yours to handle. You get home. You are not thinking about the budget. You open your phone. Within 20 minutes, you have ordered dinner you did not need and added something to a cart you will not return. You did not decide to spend. Your deciding capacity was already at 0. The psychology behind this comes directly from Roy Baumeister's ego depletion research, the same concept named in the hook. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for long-term thinking and impulse control, runs on a limited supply of cognitive energy. Every stressful decision you make draws from that supply. By evening, the tank is empty. The brain defaults to short-term reward because that is all it has left. Depleted willpower is not weakness, it is math. Mechanism 2, certainty seeking. Certainty seeking is your brain's response to an environment that feels unpredictable. It creates small, controllable wins through spending. Think about the last time work felt chaotic, or a relationship felt unstable, or the future felt genuinely unclear. Now think about what you bought. A new pair of shoes, a gadget you researched for 4 days, a subscription that gave you something predictable to look forward to. Buying something gives you a moment of complete control. You chose it. You got it. The outcome was certain. Psychologists call this compensatory control. When external circumstances feel out of your hands, your brain urgently seeks any domain where it can impose order. Spending is one of the fastest ways to manufacture that feeling. A purchase is a decision with a guaranteed immediate outcome in a week full of decisions that feel unresolved irresolvable. Your brain shops to feel powerful when life says otherwise. Mechanism 3, the dopamine debt loop. The dopamine debt loop is the mechanism that turns occasional stress spending into a pattern you repeat without understanding why. Here is the cycle. You are under chronic stress. Cortisol, your stress hormone, stays elevated. Elevated cortisol suppresses your baseline dopamine levels, leaving you in a state of low-grade emotional flatness. Your brain, designed to seek reward and avoid pain, begins craving anything that spikes dopamine quickly. Spending, specifically the anticipation of a purchase, does exactly that. The research, the cart, the checkout, each step releases a small dopamine hit. When it arrives, the hit is smaller than expected. So the loop starts again, sooner, louder. This is where reward prediction error, the concept named in segment 1, completes the picture. Your brain is constantly predicting how much reward an action will deliver. Under chronic stress, it systematically overestimates the relief that spending will bring. That is why the purchase never quite fixes the feeling. The prediction was wrong, and the brain recalibrates by wanting more sooner. Stress does not make you want things, it makes you need relief. Now that you understand the 3 mechanisms, here is what to actually do about them. The system is called the Stress Ledger Protocol. 3 steps. Each one targets a specific mechanism. Step 1, depletion mapping. Depletion mapping is identifying the exact hours and conditions when your self-regulation runs lowest. Today, write down the 3 times in your week when you feel most drained. Not sad, not angry, just empty. Those windows are your high-risk spending zones. Knowing them in advance lets you build a friction rule: no purchases, no apps, no carts during those windows before willpower is already gone. This works because you are not relying on discipline in the moment, you are removing the decision entirely from the depleted state. Step 2, control anchors. Control anchors are small, free, certain actions you use to satisfy the certainty-seeking drive without spending. Write down 3 things you can do in under 5 minutes that give you a felt sense of completion: a made bed, a cleared inbox, a short walk with a defined route. When the urge to buy hits, replace the purchase with an anchor. The psychological mechanism is identical. Your brain gets the certainty hit, but the cost is 0. This works because your brain cannot tell the difference between certainty from spending and certainty from any other completed action. Step 3, dopamine delay. Dopamine delay is a mandatory waiting window between the impulse to buy and the permission to buy. Set it at 48 hours for anything over $30. During that window, the dopamine spike from anticipation runs its course. When you return to the item after 48 hours, your brain is no longer predicting inflated relief, it is evaluating the purchase accurately. Most of the time, you will not buy it. The ones you do buy will feel different, considered, intentional, without the hollow aftermath. And here is where the false belief from earlier finally breaks. The problem was never that you lack discipline. The Stress Ledger Protocol does not ask for more willpower. It removes you from the situations where willpower fails, replaces the need it was meeting, and delays the decision until your brain can make it clearly. Discipline was the wrong tool. This is the right one. You were not broken. You were running a program. A program your brain wrote under pressure. A program designed to find relief fast. That program made sense when the stress was acute and temporary. It does not make sense as a permanent operating system for your financial life. And the version of you who finishes this video has already started to rewrite it. Here is what changes when this pattern breaks. You stop bleeding money during the hardest weeks of your life. You stop arriving at the weekend with an account that reflects your pain instead of your choices. You stop funding a relief system that charges you twice, once at checkout, once in the regret that follows. What becomes possible is concrete. The $40 a week you spent chasing a stress hit you never fully got. That is $208 a month. That is $2,496 a year. That is a trip. That is a debt cleared. That is a year of breathing room added to a life that has had too little of it. You are not becoming someone who never spends. You are becoming someone who spends with their eyes open. That is the only version of financial freedom that holds. If you want to keep understanding the psychology behind your money, not just the math, subscribe to CashCraft Daily. Next video, we are getting into something called the scarcity mindset, and the research on what it does to your IQ under financial pressure will completely change how you think about being broke.